Welcome back to the show, everyone. I'm Mia.
And I'm Daniel.
Today, we're covering exactly that. Casual ways native speakers actually tell time. 2:15, half past, just gone 5, and a bunch of others you're guaranteed to hear in real conversation.
This is such a practical topic because textbooks tend to teach the clean, formal version of time. 5:15, 5:30, 5:45, but real conversation sounds nothing like that most of the time.
If an American or a British friend tells you they will meet you at 5:30, do you show up at 4:30 or do you show up at 5:30?
Yeah, that is the ultimate trick question.
Right, because if you answered 4:30, well, you are going to be sitting alone at a coffee shop for a full hour.
Exactly. Just wondering where your friend is.
You can memorize every single number from 1 to 60, but the second you step onto the streets of London or New York or Sydney and actually ask someone for the time, the rules they completely change.
They absolutely do. And, that is a huge frustration for anyone learning English. You prepare for a very straightforward set of numbers.
Like reading a textbook.
Right, exactly like a textbook.
Yep.
You expect to hear something logical, like 5:45, but instead you're hit with this barrage of directional phrases, hidden idioms, and slang.
It's like a secret code.
It really is. It makes you feel like you are solving a puzzle just to figure out when a train is leaving.
Which is exactly why we are pulling apart our notes on time telling today. In this deep dive, we are basically on a mission to bridge the gap.
Oh, I love that. A mission.
Yeah, bridging that massive gap between the clean, perfectly structured English you find in your lessons and the messy shorthand English that native speakers actually use out in the real world.
Because native speakers don't talk like charts.
No, we really don't. We take shortcuts.
You do. Textbooks prioritize logic, but everyday conversation prioritizes rhythm and comfort.
So today, for you listening, we are going to unpack the mechanics of spoken time. We will explore not just what phrases people use, but why they use them.
Right, so you can navigate casual conversations with total confidence.
Let's start right at the absolute baseline. Before we get into fractions of an hour or all the slang, we need to look at the top of the hour.
The foundation.
Right, we need to talk about the word o'clock.
It really is the foundation of time in English. But, and this is important, there's a strict boundary here.
A boundary?
Yeah, we only use o'clock to describe an exact perfect hour. So you can say 5 o'clock, you can say 7 o'clock.
But you can't say 5:15 o'clock.
Never. You must never say 5:15 o'clock.
Yeah.
It only applies when the minute hand is pointing straight up at the 12.
I always wondered about the punctuation in that word. There's an apostrophe in o'clock. It looks like a contraction, like something is missing.
Well, something is missing. It's actually a historical shortcut.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Hundreds of years ago, as people transitioned from reading the sun to reading mechanical town clocks, they would say, it is 5 of the clock.
Oh, wow. 5 of the clock.
Right. And over centuries of speaking quickly, the clock was compressed, the F dropped out, the words just smashed together, and it became a clock.
That brings up a really fascinating point for Noah as a learner. English speakers love to compress things so they can speak faster.
Oh, absolutely.
And what's interesting is that in modern casual speech, native speakers frequently drop the word o'clock entirely.
They really do.
If you ask me the time right now, I won't say it is 5 o'clock. I will just look at my wrist and say, it's 5.
Which, that can be a trap if you're waiting for that specific.
Yeah, if you're listening for it.
Right. If your ears are straining to hear the word o'clock, just to confirm we are talking about time, you might miss the answer completely. The word simply vanishes.
It reminds me of how we use formal titles. You wouldn't call your best friend Dr. Smith at a backyard barbecue, even if he is a medical professional.
Right, you just call him John.
Exactly. Dropping a clock feels identical to dropping a formal title. It's quicker, it's way more comfortable, and it just immediately signals a casual environment.
That captures the social dynamic perfectly. It really comes down to the natural momentum of everyday speech. Adding those 2 extra syllables, it just slows you down.
So for anyone listening to this, simply dropping a clock and saying it's 5 is just an instant, effortless upgrade to your conversational rhythm.
Highly recommended. It makes you sound so much more natural.
But dropping words is fantastic when you happen to land perfectly on the hour. Humans rarely operate that cleanly, though.
No, we certainly do not.
We usually land somewhere in the messy middle. So let's transition to how native speakers actually slice up the hour into smaller, bite-sized pieces.
This is where we start talking about the geometry of time.
Geometry.
Yeah, we treat the physical face of a clock like a pie, and we cut it into halves and quarters. Let's start with cutting the hour straight down the middle. We use the phrase half past.
Okay, meaning 30 minutes have gone by. So 5:30 means 5:30.
Correct. We are noting that we have traveled halfway past the hour of 5.
But, and I need to stop you here and bring up the trap we mentioned right at the start of the deep dive. Because in British English, they compress this phrase, don't they?
Oh, they do. This is a big one.
They just say 5:30. And if you translate that directly from languages like German or Dutch, 5:30 means 4:30. It means you're halfway toward the hour of 5.
And that is perhaps the single biggest cause of missed trains and ruined dinner plans for learners.
I can imagine.
You hear a British person say, let's meet at 5:30. Your brain translates it based on your native language.
Yeah.
And you think they mean 4:30.
Right.
But in English, the logic of half always looks backward over its shoulder.
Wait, it looks backward?
Yes, it looks at the hour that has already happened. It is short for half past.
Oh, I see.
So 5:30 means we have already hit 5 and we've kept going for another 30 minutes. It will always mean 5:30.
So for you listening, you have to mentally flag that reflex so you don't show up an hour early to your next appointment.
Exactly. Remember, it's always past the hour.
Okay, so we have sliced the clock in half. Now let's slice it into quarters. 15-minute increments. If it is 15 minutes after 5, what is the standard phrase?
Well, we use the phrase quarter past. So 5:15 becomes quarter past 5.
And what if we are on the other side? What if we're looking at 5:45?
Once you cross the 30-minute mark, the language shifts its focus.
How so?
Instead of looking backward at the hour you just left, you start looking forward to the destination you were trying to reach. You use the phrase quarter to.
Okay.
So 5:45 becomes quarter to 6, meaning 15 minutes remain until we hit 6 o'clock.
There's a deeply physical element to this vocabulary, isn't there? English speakers talk about time as if it was a physical space we are walking through. Past and to are directional words.
Spot on. It is spatial geometry.
Yeah.
If you walk past a building, you leave it behind you.
Right.
If you walk to a building, you're approaching it. We use the exact same mental map for hours. The minute hand walks past the 12 and then it walks to the next 12.
I do want to bring up some regional variations here because depending on what city you are standing in, the vocabulary shifts a bit.
It does, yeah.
In American English, I rarely say quarter past. I say quarter after, like it's a quarter after 5.
Regional preferences play a huge role in time telling. Quarter after is very standard across much of North America.
And for the other side of the clock.
Americans often use the phrase quarter of.
Ah, right. Quarter of 6, meaning 15 minutes belong to the missing part of the next hour.
Exactly that. So quarter past and quarter after function as identical twins. They mean the exact same thing.
And quarter to and quarter of are also identical twins.
Yep. Whether you use one or the other mostly depends on whether you are chatting with someone in London or someone in Chicago.
And this spatial rule, using past for the first half of the hour and for the second half, that applies to specific minutes as well, doesn't it? It's not just for chunks of 15.
The rule is entirely consistent across the board. You could say 10 past 6 to mean 6:10.
Or 20 to 8 to mean 7:40.
Exactly. The right side of the clock face leaves the hour behind, and the left side of the clock face marches toward the next one.
That makes perfect logical sense, but I'll be honest, sometimes mapping time out perfectly on a clock face is the completely wrong approach for a social situation.
Oh, definitely.
Everyday life isn't always scheduled to the exact minute, and pretending it is can actually be quite stressful.
Which brings us to the psychology of vagueness.
I love that.
We have a whole separate toolkit of phrases designed specifically for when we do not want to be precise.
Let's explore those, because sometimes you just need breathing room. What is a common way to be slightly vague if we just passed an hour, say it is 5 or 2?
A fantastic, very natural British expression is just gone. You look at your watch and say, it's just gone 5.
Which means it doesn't matter if it is 5:01 or 5:05. The specific minute is totally irrelevant.
Right. It simply communicates that a tiny fraction of time has elapsed since 5 o'clock.
And if we are on the other side, let's say it is 4:57.
Then we use words like nearly or almost. You would say it's nearly 5 or it's almost 5.
You know, I hear radio hosts use a variation of this all the time. They will say, coming up on 5.
Oh, that's a great one.
It has this great feeling of forward motion, like you are riding a train toward the top of the hour.
Coming up on is a superb phrase for learners to adopt. It sounds incredibly fluent.
But my absolute favorite way to introduce vagueness into a schedule, and I probably use this 5 times a day, is a tiny suffix. I just attach the sound ish to the end of a number.
Yes, like let's meet at 5-ish.
Exactly. It is brilliant in its simplicity.
5-ish just means somewhere in the general orbit of 5 o'clock. It deliberately removes precision.
I always think of ish as drawing a soft, blurry circle around a number. It creates a social buffer.
A buffer zone, right?
If I tell you to meet me at the studio at 5-ish, I would fully expect you to stroll in at 5:15 with a coffee in your hand, and I wouldn't be mad about it.
And I probably would stroll in at 5:15.
I know you would.
Because the word ish-ish signals that we are prioritizing relaxation over strict punctuality. Neither of us wants the pressure of watching the second hand on a clock.
There is another phrase that does that same job, but it sits at the end of a sentence, give or take.
Oh, give or take is a classic estimation tool. You state a measurement, and then you acknowledge that reality might bend those rules a bit.
So how would we use that in a conversation?
Well, let's say we are planning a trip. I might tell you, it will take an hour to drive there, give or take.
Meaning you are planning for an hour, but you are factoring in the reality of traffic, or maybe missing an exit. It might be 50 minutes. It might be an hour and 10.
Exactly. Using phrases like give or take and ish is the secret to sounding relaxed in English. It smooths out the friction of a busy life.
Okay, so ish saves us from social pressure, but I can't tell the airline that my international flight leaves at 5-ish.
No, please don't do that.
Or if I am conducting a major business deal, I can't leave the schedule up to a blurry circle.
No, you cannot. There are moments when you have to abandon vagueness entirely and rely on the language of absolute, unforgiving punctuality.
So what are the primary indicators that someone expects total precision?
The two heavy hitters are the phrases on the dot and sharp.
Okay, so if a manager looks at you and says, the presentation begins at 9 sharp.
They're telling you that there is zero buffer zone. You need to be in the room, notebook open, ready to speak before the clock clicks to 9:01.
Wow, so no getting coffee.
No coffee. 9 sharp or 9 on the dot carries a heavy expectation. It implies that being late is not just a mistake, it is a sign of disrespect.
That is a really crucial cultural note for you listening. The language shifts from being a casual observation to a hard boundary. Now, speaking of boundaries, we have been hyper-focused on the tiny increments, minutes, and specific hours. Let's zoom out.
Okay.
Human beings don't actually experience time purely in minutes. We experience it in light and dark, which brings up the massive gray areas of the English day, morning, afternoon, evening, and night.
On paper, these sound like simple blocks of time. Morning spans from midnight until noon.
Okay.
Afternoon runs from noon until roughly 5 or 6. Evening takes the baton until the sun goes down. And night covers the dark hours until morning returns.
I'm going to push back on those definitions, though.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, because as a native speaker, if you tell me evening ends when the sun goes down, I run into a massive problem during the winter. Where I live, the sun completely vanishes by 4:30 in December. Does that mean it is officially night before people even leave the office?
I see what you mean, and that is a brilliant challenge. The truth is, the boundaries are completely fluid.
Fluid.
Yeah, they stretch and compress based on the season where you're geographically on the planet and cultural habits.
Oh.
A restaurant in Spain might consider 8 o'clock the start of the evening, while a farm in rural America might consider it late at night.
So trying to memorize a rigid mathematical rule for when afternoon becomes evening is basically a waste of a learner's time.
It is entirely wasted time. The best advice here is to act like a sociologist.
Just observe people.
Exactly. Observe your immediate surroundings. Pay attention to how your local barista or your coworkers greet you and simply mirror their choices. Context dictates the vocabulary, not the other way around.
Let's talk about the exact middle of those light and dark cycles. The absolute center of the day and the absolute center of the night. 12 a.m. and 12 p.m. Can we just admit that these are inherently deeply confusing labels?
Oh, they are
I
terrible.
still have to pause and double check myself when I set an alarm on my phone.
They are notoriously confusing, and it all traces back to Latin.
Of course it does.
Right. AM stands for ante-meridium, which means before midday. PM stands for post-meridium, which means after midday.
Which creates a total logical paradox, because the exact moment the sun hits the middle of the sky is midday. How can the exact moment of midday be called after midday? It hasn't passed yet.
That paradox is exactly why people freeze up. It defies common sense.
Huh?
12 p.m. is the middle of the daylight, 12 a.m. is the dead of night.
Right.
But because the numbers reset to 1 right after 12, our brains struggle to categorize it smoothly.
So what is the workaround? We need a life hack for listeners so they never book a crucial flight 12 hours late by mistake.
The absolute best strategy is to abandon 12 a.m. and 12 p.m. entirely when you are speaking. Use the words noon and midnight instead.
Oh, that's so much easier.
It is. Noon leaves no room for debate. It is the bright middle of the day. Midnight is the dark middle of the night. By substituting those words, you completely bypass the Latin paradox and guarantee you were understood.
That is incredibly practical. Just step around the trap entirely. What about the 24-hour clock, though, the military time system? You see it everywhere on digital schedules.
You will see it constantly on transit boards. If you are catching a train in London or a flight across Europe, the board will proudly display 1700. But there's a massive divide between written English and spoken English here.
Right, because native speakers don't read it out loud that way, do they?
Not in casual civilian settings, particularly in North America. A native speaker will look up at a glowing board that clearly says 1700, and they will turn to their friend and say, "The train leaves at 5.
The brain automatically translates the 24-hour written schedule back into the 12-hour spoken rhythm.
It does. It's like we are universally bilingual when it comes to time formats. We write in one system and speak in another.
And being aware of that dual system stays you from sounding overly clinical.
Exactly. Unless you are coordinating a military operation, converting 24-hour time back to the 12-hour clock keeps your conversation feeling relaxed and natural.
Now that we know how to navigate the strict boundaries and the relaxed buffers, we should look at how native speakers color outside the lines.
Oh, the idioms.
Yes, the poetry of time. There's one phrase I love using when I have to wake up terribly early. The crack of dawn.
It is a stunning visual metaphor. The crack of dawn refers to that tiny, fleeting window when the sun first breaches the horizon.
You picture the light literally cracking the dark shell of the night sky.
Precisely. You don't just say, "I woke up early." You say, "We had to hit the road at the crack of dawn." It elevates the sentence from a simple fact to an actual story. You are painting a picture of hardship and effort.
And on the opposite end of the spectrum, when everyone else is asleep, you have the wee hours.
The wee hours. This usually refers to the quiet, dark stretch between midnight and 3 or 4 in the morning.
Why wee, though?
Wee historically means small, referring to the low numbers on the clock, 1, 2, 3. If you say, "I was pacing the floor into the wee hours," you are evoking a sense of isolation and silence that you don't get by just saying 2 a.m.
Idioms are great for storytelling, but let's bring it back down to the pavement. You were walking down a street, your phone battery is dead, and you genuinely just need to know what time it is.
Right, a real-life situation.
How do you ask a stranger without sounding like a robot?
Well, the standard textbook approach is, "What time is it?" There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. It is functional.
But out on the street, you will hear native speakers use slightly warmer, more conversational variations.
Like, "Have you got the time?" Or, "Do you know what time it is?" It softens the demand. You are asking if they possess the knowledge, rather than just demanding the data.
It is a small cushion of politeness. There is one variation, though, that always catches my ear. It is highly British, and it sounds almost philosophical.
Oh, I know the one.
What time do you make it? When I first heard that, it sounded like someone was asking for my personal opinion on the state of the universe.
The history behind that phrase is wonderful. You have to remember a world before smartphones. Before our pockets carried devices that automatically sync their time to atomic clocks and satellites.
When people relied entirely on mechanical gears and springs.
Yes. Everyone walked around with a mechanical watch on their wrist or in their pocket, and those gears were vulnerable to temperature, to movement, to magnetism.
Right.
It was incredibly common for one person's watch to run 2 minutes fast, and another person's watch to run 3 minutes slow.
So nobody really had the objective, perfect time. Everyone was just carrying around a rough estimate.
Which meant that when you asked someone for the time, you weren't asking for an absolute truth. You were politely asking for a reading of their specific, likely flawed instrument.
That makes so much sense.
What time do you make it? It's just a shorthand way of saying, based on the unique mechanical reality of your watch, what is your calculation of our current moment?
I love that. It's this mutual acknowledgement that we're all just doing our best to guess where we are in the day. My watch says 5:02, yours says 4:58. Let's just meet in the middle.
Exactly. It is a piece of mechanical history perfectly preserved in everyday slang.
Language is basically an archaeological dig. These phrases survive long after the technology that created them disappears.
Which is a profound realization.
It really is. And honestly, look at the time. We have dug through a massive amount of material today. From dropping a clock to the Latin paradox of midday, all the way to the quirks of pocket watches.
We covered a lot of ground.
To help you listening lock this down, we are going to run through a rapid-fire survival guide of the most critical traps and tools we covered today. Ready?
Let's run through it.
Trap number 1, cutting the hour in half.
The standard is half past. But beware the British shortcut. Half 5 means 5:30. It always looks backward at the hour you just passed, not the hour you are heading toward.
Tool number 2, navigating the 15-minute marks.
Rely on the spatial geometry. If you are in the first half of the hour, you are moving past or after the hour. If you are the second half, you are marching to or of the next hour.
Tool number 3, the social buffer.
The suffix ish. Add it to any hour to create a relaxed, blurry circle. 5-ish means roughly 5, removing the pressure of punctuality.
And finally, trap number 4, the demand for perfection.
The words sharp and on the dot. If you hear these, your buffer is gone. Be in your seat, ready to go the moment the clock strikes.
Spot on. Your challenge now is to take the survival guide and test it out. Put on a movie, listen to a native speaker being interviewed, and just wait for it. You will start hearing "ish" and "2 and half past" everywhere you turn. The textbook chart will fade away, and the real-world rhythm will finally make sense.
And as you listen for those physical directional phrases like 2 and half past, I want you to consider a bigger, somewhat provocative question.
Oh, where are we heading with this?
Well, think about the geometry we discussed. We use words like past and death because for centuries, we tracked time by watching a physical hand move in a circle across a physical clock face. We watched time travel through space.
Right. Moving from the left side of the pie to the right side of the pie.
But look at the world today. Smartwatches, phones, microwaves, computer screens, they don't have sweeping hands around faces. They just flash digital numbers. 5:45.
Yeah, that's true.
We no longer watch time move across a circle. We just read data. So the question is, as those round clock faces go extinct, will phrases like quarter to eventually fade completely out of the English language because they no longer match our physical reality? Or is the concept of time as a physical space so deeply wired into the human brain that we will keep using these words forever, even if we never look at a mechanical clock again?
Wow. Do the words outlast the machines? That is an incredible thought to walk away with. Keep paying attention to the clocks, keep listening to the language, and keep wondering.
Thank you so much for spending this time with us today, learning how native speakers actually talk about time in everyday, natural conversation.
If this episode genuinely helped you, subscribe for more English learning podcasts like this one, and leave a comment telling us which one of these time expressions did you not know before today.
We'll see you in the next episode.
Bye, everyone.
Bye!